The palace of Vael'thara floated above a sea of molten gold. Its spires shimmered under twin suns, their heat diffused by an invisible shield that only the royal bloodline could command. To mortals it was paradise. To those who served within, it was a gilded cage ruled by an emperor whose words shaped stars. Emperor Tkaran of the Var Dominion was ancient even by his kind's standards, a race that measured their lives in centuries. His skin shimmered like obsidian glass, his eyes molten amber, reflecting both brilliance and cruelty. To his subjects he was a god. To his enemies a storm given form. And to the small human child who entered his hall each dawn with a basket of fresh synth berries, he was something else entirely, a mystery she wasn't afraid of. Her name was Lyra Hale, daughter of Mara, a human maid who had served in silence for 16 years. Humans were uncommon in the Dominion. Most lived in mining colonies or frontier trade hubs. But Mara had once saved a noble's life during a shipwreck, earning a place within the palace's lowest tier of servants. Lyra had grown up among cold corridors and whispering courtiers who barely noticed her existence. That was about to change. The Emperor's test. Tkaran had long observed humans with curiosity. Their bodies were fragile, their lifespans brief, yet they survived impossible odds, adapting to environments that would kill stronger species. He found that fascinating. Rumors had reached him that the maid's daughter, Lyra, possessed an unusual spark. Some claimed she could sense moods before they were spoken, others that she sang to the plants in the arboretum and they grew faster around her. Superstition, perhaps. But curiosity gnawed at him. So he devised a test. That morning, when Lyra came to clean the royal chambers, the emperor dismissed his guards. He lay down upon the throne's reclining dais, his breathing slow and measured, his vast form still as carved stone. To the world, Tkaran entered his meditative sleep, a state used by his kind to restore psychic energy. To Lyra he appeared asleep, vulnerable perhaps, but his mind was fully awake. He wanted to see what the human girl would do when alone before a god. To the girl and the emperor, Lyra entered quietly, her steps soft on the crystalline floor. The air shimmered faintly with psionic residue, humming against her skin. She was used to that. The palace was alive in strange ways. She paused before the dais. The emperor was immense, his form draped in robes that rippled with shifting patterns, as though galaxies lived within them. His crown of obsidian bone curved backward like the horns of some mythic beast. Lyra hesitated. Her mother had warned her never to approach too closely during meditation hours. But something felt off. His breathing, though even, lacked rhythm. Too perfect. Too deliberate. "He's pretending," she whispered without realizing. Then she blushed, clutching her cleaning cloth. "I shouldn't say that." Still she lingered. There was something magnetic about his stillness. She could feel, faintly, a presence pressing against her thoughts, like a breeze trying to open a closed door. To most species, a Var Emperor's psychic aura would be unbearable. Yet Lyra only felt curiosity. It tickled her mind but did not invade. She knelt, dipped her cloth in luminescent water, and began to wipe the base of the dais. "You know," she said quietly, "if you really are asleep, it's not very comfortable like that." Tkaran's internal amusement flickered. "Bold child. I could get you a proper cushion, you know. The royal seamstress keeps them hidden away because you said they soften the spine. But I think even emperors need to rest sometimes." Her words carried no fear, no reverence, just kindness. Then, she did something that made Tkaran's mind still entirely. She began to hum. Soft, wordless melody. Human in origin, ancient from a forgotten earth lullaby. The sound was pure, untrained, but it resonated through the throne room like liquid silver. And the psionic wards woven into the chamber, wards that repelled dream intrusion and stabilized the Emperor's power, reacted. They shimmered. They softened. The Emperor felt his own power ebb and shift, soothed as though touched by a living balm. His people used machines to regulate psychic energy. This human girl was doing it with a song. He wanted to rise, to demand an explanation, but he found himself unwilling to break the moment. 3. A song that bends stars. Lyra's voice faltered when she noticed the glowing sigils pulsing along the walls. "Oh no," she gasped. "Did I break something?" She set down her cloth, panic rising. "Mother's going to be furious if I triggered a defense rune again." She approached the dais, biting her lip. Emperor. Sir. If you can hear me, I didn't mean to cause trouble. I was just..." She reached out, brushing a lock of his hair aside, and her fingertips grazed the faintest spark of his aura. It was like touching the sun. The contact jolted them both. In an instant, Karen saw flashes through her mind. Memories not her own. A child watching her mother scrub alien floors, a stolen view of the stars from a high balcony, a wish whispered into darkness. "I want to see the sky without permission." And Lyra saw him. Galaxies collapsing, wars fought in silence, a throne of solitude heavier than any crown. When they broke contact, both were trembling. Karen opened his eyes. Lyra stumbled backward, terrified. I'm so sorry. I didn't know, I thought." "Be still," the Emperor said, his voice like distant thunder. "You are unhurt." I think so," she whispered. He sat up, eyes glowing. "What you did, that song. How?" She shook her head. "It's just something my mother sang when I couldn't sleep. It's not special." Karen studied her. "It pacified psionic energy. You nullified a frequency that cannot be tamed even by my highest adepts." Lyra blinked. "I sang a lullaby." "Precisely." He leaned closer. "Do you know what that means?" "No," she said softly. "But you look lonely." That simple statement hit harder than any psionic weapon. For the Emperor's confession. Later that day, the Emperor summoned her mother, Mara. The human maid fell to her knees, trembling with terror. "My Emperor, if my daughter has offended..." "She has done the impossible," Karen interrupted. "You should be proud." Mara looked up shocked. "Proud?" She touched the source and lived. The court gasped. Even the High Vizier, a being of crystalline intellect, flickered in disbelief. The source was the Emperor's life force itself. No mortal could touch it and survive intact. But Lyra stood unscathed. Karen dismissed the court. When the chamber was empty, he turned to Mara and asked, "Where did you come by that song?" "It's human," Mara replied cautiously. "An old melody from Earth's forgotten centuries. It soothes children, nothing more." The Emperor frowned. "There is more to it than you know." He dismissed her gently, and for the first time in his reign, he thought of Earth not as a primitive world, but as a mystery worth reverence. That night he could not sleep. He kept hearing her voice, that fragile human sound that soothed a mind forged in cosmic fire. Shadows in the court. Word spread quickly through the palace. The human girl had bewitched the Emperor. Whispers turned to fear. Some nobles called for her exile, others for her dissection. Humans were tolerated, not trusted, and jealousy among immortals burned bright. When an attempt was made on Lyra's life, a poison tray meant for her mother, Karen's fury shook the palace foundations. "Find the coward," he commanded. "No harm shall come to that child." He doubled the guard around her quarters. Yet Lyra, unaware of court intrigue, kept coming to clean his chambers as usual, humming as she worked. One morning she found him waiting, not pretending this time. "You could command 1,000 guards," she said, unafraid. "But you still sit here alone." He smiled faintly. "You are observant for one so young." "I just notice when people hide sadness behind pride," she said. "Humans do that too." He regarded her with curiosity. "You think I hide sadness?" "I think you're tired," she replied simply. "And you don't trust anyone enough to rest." He said nothing, but her words lodged deep. 6. The gift of weakness. Weeks passed. The Emperor began to change. He started walking the palace gardens again, something he hadn't done in centuries. He allowed music to play in the halls, invited the human workers to eat better meals, and even smiled once, though it startled everyone present. Lyra continued her duties, though now she was accompanied by an ever-watchful royal guard. One evening she brought him a small device, a trinket from the human quarters. "It's called a music cube," she explained. "You can record songs on it." "I thought maybe." He took it, studying the fragile crystal within. "You would give this to me." "It's nothing fancy," she said, blushing. "Just something to help you sleep." He turned it over in his hands. "You presume much, little one." He shrugged. "Maybe. But maybe you need someone to." He almost laughed. A human presuming to teach an emperor humility. How extraordinary. 7. The Awakening. Months later, an assassination attempt succeeded. Almost. During a diplomatic banquet, a Var noble detonated a psionic disruptor. The explosion shattered the throne hall. Energy waves tore through the chamber, killing dozens. Terran was hit directly, his energy core destabilizing. He collapsed, his body flickering between physical and ethereal states. Lyra, thrown across the floor, saw him fading. Without thinking, she crawled toward him through debris and burning air. "Stay back!" shouted a guard, but she didn't listen. She reached him and began to sing. The same melody. But this time her voice was stronger, desperate, raw with emotion. The energy storm slowed. The Emperor's form stabilized. His consciousness, slipping into the void, heard the song and remembered. The child who wasn't afraid, the kindness that asked nothing, the fragile human courage that defied despair. When he awoke hours later, the first thing he saw was Lyra asleep beside his throne, her hand still clutching his. The healers bowed, astonished. "She saved you, my emperor." Her song harmonized with your core's frequency. "It should be impossible." "Humans," he whispered, "make impossible things seem small." 8. The Emperor's decision. When dawn broke, he summoned the court. He stood tall, robes gleaming, crown renewed. "Let it be known," he declared, "that humanity is no longer a servant race within this dominion. Their courage and spirit are worthy of honor." Gasps echoed through the hall. He turned to Lyra and her mother. "You have shown me the strength of fragile things, and the power of compassion over fear." Mara wept. Lyra smiled, though shyly. "You once said," he continued, "that I looked lonely. Perhaps I was. But I am not now." He stepped down from his throne, the first emperor in history to do so before a human, and bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Lyra Hale." The chamber fell utterly silent. 9. The Lullaby of Stars. Years later, travelers across the Dominion would hear whispers of a song, a human melody that could calm storms, heal wounds, even ease dying stars into silence. They called it the Lullaby of the Emperor. And when asked how such power began, The old storytellers would smile and say, "It started when a god pretended to sleep, and a human girl refused to see him as anything less than a man." The end.